Hello. Today I'm going to talk about something I wrote. And it is Bible. It's about empires. The title of my writing is Empires as Nothing. Basically, empires, if you think about it, in God's eyes, they're nothing but they're like a vapor. They're like with humans. God calls people a vapor. Calls them a vapor that appears for a short time and vanishes away. A empire is really nothing to God. God doesn't look at God. God doesn't look at them and kind of shiver and tremble because of their power. Their powers mean nothing to Him. He's the one that sets them up and brings them down. They mean nothing to Him. And I wrote a simple thing. It's not very large. It's only about 4 pages. And then I wrote some on the millennial reign, which is the most important reign, which will not be destroyed and will not fall. All the other empires have fallen over the years, but this one here, the millennial reign will never fall. That's Christ's reign. That will happen after the tribulation period. It's a 1,000-year reign, but after that is eternity. So He will be, and He's in control now, but by that time He'll be visibly in control. People will actually see Him in the person. Right now you can't see Christ in person, but at that time you will be able to see Him in person, and that's the difference. So I'm going to just start from the beginning and just read it, and this will be, I believe this will be a help. The world has many kingdoms or empires that have come and gone throughout history. The first empire recorded in history from the Bible is the empire set up by Nimrod, the mighty hunter, as the Bible calls him, which later became the Assyrian Empire. And the Assyrian Empire was a pretty powerful empire for their time. They were one of the ancient empires before Christ. Other empires that are in the Bible are the Hittite Empire, the Amalekite Empire, or the Amalekites or Amalek, Philistine Empire, the Moabite Empire, the Edomite Empire, the Ammonite Empire, the Egyptian Empire, the Assyrian Empire, Syrian Empire, Babylonian Empire, MEDO-PERSIan Empire, and then there was the once powerful kingdom of Israel, which later became the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah. They were split. God split them because of the sins of Solomon, and split them, and they become 2 kingdoms. Because Israel at one time was a very powerful nation. And there are 2 more empires that are in the Bible. Only one, and one of them is not mentioned in prophecy. It's mentioned in prophecy, but it's not mentioned by name. There's another one that's mentioned in prophecy and in name, but not as much as the others. It's Grecian or Grecia, or we know it today in modern times as Greece. The kingdom of Greece, the Greek Empire, the one set up by Alexander the Great. That's the empire. They are mentioned in Bible prophecy too. The other one is the Roman Empire. They're not mentioned by name, but they are mentioned in Bible prophecy. And they, at that time in Bible prophecy, the Roman Empire is the strongest empire to stand. And they did get stronger. But there's only one thing about it. But again, think about the greatest kingdom of all of the kingdoms. The kingdom of our Lord Jesus Christ. The millennial reign, as it's called. It'll be ruled by Him, who's the Prince of Peace. He's the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Messiah, the righteous Judge. He's got all the Ancient of Days, the King, the Great King. He's got so many titles you can't even name all of them. There's so many of them. He's going to rule the whole world, the whole earth, and it will have no end. These other empires have had ends. None of these most all the empires I mentioned, none of them exist anymore. None of these empires I mentioned exist. They've all fallen. Some of them have been gone for millenniums, several millenniums. But then think about this. But then this one is going. There's been Old Testament prophecies talking about the millennial reign. Like, for instance, there's some Old Testament prophecies talk about that nations will not rise against nation anymore. There will be no more wars. The deserts will be blooming, with plants and flowers, and there'll be water flowing in the deserts. Animals won't attack and eat each other. They won't be, they won't eat each other for food. They won't be attacking each other. They won't attack people either. And people will have no need to go around killing animals anymore or fighting again. People will be living many years. Like if you go back, look and read the Bible before the flood, people were living hundreds of years. People will be able to do that again in the millennium. And there'll be true peace and justice. Again, nation will not fight against nations. They will all be friends. Basically, they won't lift their hands against each other no more. It'll basically just be a perfect world, like the Garden of Eden again, heaven on earth. There have been other empires that have come and gone that are not mentioned in the Bible, though, as you know. Pretty much y'all know there have been several empires throughout history. They're not all mentioned in the Bible. The Bible, some of the empires that are mentioned in the Bible, if you notice, if you look at all of them, they're all in the Middle Eastern vicinity. All the ones that they talk about that are mentioned here are all in the Middle Eastern area. They don't talk about the ones over in the Far East, and some in, maybe in Europe, or some in Africa, in parts maybe in part in Australia. Some, they don't talk about the ones out there. There's some that they have been empires that rose in all over the world, but they're not all mentioned in the Bible. But if you think, but here's one thing about all the empires that have ever stood, not just the ones mentioned in the Bible. They've all followed the same type of system that was started at the Tower of Babel. We can get to God our own way, and we can run our lives and nations our own way. And it is the Babylonian system. It comes from Babel, the word Babel, Babylon. That's where Babylon come from. Was from the Babel. That's where Babylon come from. Babel. The word Babel means confusion. If you know, remember in the Tower of Babel, all people as before that spoke one language. I don't know what the language was. I'm not going to try to tell you. I don't know what it was. But they all spoke one language. That's how they were all able to come together. It seems that the people back before the flood, God told them to spread and to go and be fruitful, multiply, and repopulate and replenish the earth. It seems that people didn't do that because they all congregated at the Tower of Babel and started building this tower. And said, we're going to find a new way to heaven, we're going to find a new way to get to God, we're going to find a new way, and we're going to do it our way, and we're going to just hop in and get to God our own way and say, okay, God, He got us, we're here, we're going to have to deal with this now. Everybody, it seemed like the whole world was involved in this. And they didn't disperse and didn't go anywhere. So God said, and so God confused their languages where they all couldn't talk, couldn't work with each other, they couldn't understand each other, so they all just dispersed because they didn't understand each other. It's the Babylonian system of government, religion, and thinking, and it's been going, and ever since then it's infiltrated, and it's been the same system used throughout the centuries with all the empires that followed it, all of them. Basically, the empires of the world are leading to the final Gentile empire, which will be the revived Roman Empire, the tribulation period empire, the one ruled by the Antichrist and his false prophet. And he will deceive the lost people into taking the mark of the beast and the worshiping the image, he'll eventually be, and him and his false prophet will eventually be cast in the lake of fire at the end of it, the 7-year tribulation, and God will destroy this empire after He's done poured out His judgment throughout the tribulation period. Then He will take them, put them in the lake of fire. He'll destroy this empire by just speaking words, and will basically wipe out the entire army, the evil army, the Antichrist army. He'll wipe them out with just speaking to them, speaking Bible verses, and they'll die right there. He'll wipe them all out, destroy the kingdom, and set up His kingdom. That time is called the Battle of Armageddon, where He defeats the army. But that's going to be a great time when He finally sets up that kingdom.